The 2024 NFL Draft is still months away, but it's never too late for a mock draft. And in this video, we're going to break down all 32 first-round picks, analyzing team needs and who they should target. Will your team fill a glaring hole or take the top player available? Which blockbuster trades should shake up the order, and which quarterback-needy squads will reach for a franchise savior? We'll protect it all in this action-packed mock draft. No insider info will be left on the table, so make sure you watch until the end to see who your team should be eyeing in 2024. Alrighty, fellas, with the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver from Ohio State. The Bears go big game hunting right away and nabbing up Harrison Jr. to be their wide receiver number one. He's got phenomenal size and he plays well above his speed. Harrison dominates at the catch point with his ball skills. He forms a lethal duo with DJ Moore outside, and getting this caliber of talent makes perfect sense. Now down to the second pick, going to the Washington Commanders, we got Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC. The Commanders finally land their franchise quarterback in Williams. He has all the physical tools and playmaking abilities that teams covet. Williams was absolutely electric at USC, displaying awesome arm talent and mobility, and there's even some touch accuracy issues, but he does make up for it with his improvisational skills. With Terry McLaurin and weapons, look for huge numbers from Williams right away. All right, moving down to pick number 3 now. The New England Patriots are on the clock and they select Jaden Daniels, quarterback from LSU. This is our first surprise of the mock draft. The Patriots need to find their quarterback of the future, and while some may have predicted other elite quarterbacks here, with the weapons that the Pats have, Daniels could be the perfect catalyst to kickstart this offense. All right, moving down to number 4 now with the Arizona Cardinals on the clock. The pick is in and they select Drake May, the quarterback from UNC. May is going to take over in Arizona as the new face of the franchise. This past season at UNC, he took a big leap with pinpoint accuracy, field vision, and video game production. May piled up impressive touchdowns versus just a few interceptions while flashing deep ball precision. Surrounded by Cardinals weapons, May's passing prowess gives the Cardinals a high-powered threat under center. The Los Angeles Chargers are now on the clock with the 5th pick, and they take none other than Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia. The Chargers nab maybe the best playmaker in the entire draft here in Bowers. For a tight end, this kid is special. I mean, he tore up the SEC from day one at Georgia as an elite vertical threat who can also make people miss after the catch. Head coach Jim Harbaugh also loves utilizing tight ends, so this is a slam dunk pick. Alrighty, now moving on to number 6, and this one's going to belong to the New York Giants. They use their pick on Malik Neighbors, wide receiver from LSU. Back-to-back LSU Tigers come off the board, with the Giants now needing to keep building up the weapons for Daniel Jones, and Neighbors, well, he's got some fireworks written all over him. He also packs so much juice as a route runner and an elusive person after the catch. Pairing his YAC ability with Sterling Shepard makes this receiving core scary. The Giants could end up using some O-line help, but with how deep the receiver class is, going BPA makes a little bit more sense here. The Tennessee Titans are now up with the 7th overall pick, and their selection is Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. The Titans go for a tried and true tackle here in Alt after dealing with injuries up front this past season. With some veterans Titans linemen hitting free agency, reinforcing the trenches here is the right call. All right, down to the 8th overall selection now, and the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. With this, they end up taking Dallas Turner, the linebacker from Alabama. The Falcons did add some major juice to the pass rush with Turner here, as the Alabama standout flies off the edge with speed and bending that offensive tackles would have nightmares about. Atlanta needs that game-wrecking playmaker up front as they continue rebuilding the defense. Turner has future Pro Bowler written all over him. Okay, the rival Chicago Bears are back up with the 9th overall pick, and the pick that the Bears are going to take is J.C. Latham, offensive tackle from Alabama. Earlier, I had the Bears take Marvin Harrison Jr. first overall at wide receiver. Now, they have some protection to be able to get him the ball. The 6'6", 359-pound mauler will help shore up that line so as to allow Justin Fields to stay on his feet. All right, now down to the 10th pick, and the New York Jets are on the clock. With their pick, they're going to select Talise Fuaga, the offensive tackle from Oregon State. The Jets have plenty of holes, so offensive line does make sense here. Fuaga plays with a real mean streak and a run blocker, but also has the quick feet to be able to hold up and pass pro. The Minnesota Vikings are now on the deck with the 11th overall selection in the 2024 NFL Draft, and with their pick, Jared Verse, the defensive lineman from Florida State. The Vikings reinvest at defense here with a huge debut season for Verse. With questions around Danielle Hunter's future, Verse can help from a fierce rotation at defensive end. Alrighty, now the Denver Broncos are on the clock with the 12th overall pick, and with their selection, the Broncos take Byron Murphy II, the defensive tackle from Texas. The Broncos still need a long-term plan at quarterback, but with no great options here, they're going to have to focus all their efforts on the defensive interior. Okay, we got the Las Vegas Raiders up next with the 13th overall selection, and with their pick, they address the offensive line and take Rome Odunze, wide receiver from Washington. The new Raiders GM Tom Telesco tapped into a familiar pipeline with his first pick. At 6'3" and with great athleticism, Odunze profiles as the perfect complement. Getting their quarterbacks quality weapons to throw to was a priority, and Odunze provides another dangerous aerial weapon. A savvy pick to keep building up that passing game. Alrighty, the New Orleans Saints are now on the clock with the 14th pick, and with their first round selection, the Saints take Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle from Penn State. The Saints have invested in the future of their offensive line with this pick, and with the injuries the Saints have dealt with up front, grabbing a high upside tackle like Fashanu makes a ton of sense here. Alright, moving on to the 15th overall pick now, and the Colts are on the clock. With their selection, the Colts end up taking Terrion Arnold, cornerback from Alabama. The Colts secondary was inconsistent this past season, so targeting a corner here is the right move. With veteran Xavier Rhodes hitting free agency, Arnold can slide right in as the new starter. Alrighty, the Seattle Seahawks are now on the clock with pick number 16, and the pick they take is going to be Troy Fautanu, offensive lineman from Washington. The Seahawks go local here and picking Fautanu after restart in Seattle for the Huskies. With Mike McDonald taking over as head coach, bolstering the trenches is clearly a priority. Moving down to the 17th overall selection now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock, and they end up going with Laiatu Latu, the defensive lineman from UCLA. After trading away Josh Allen, the Jags land on explosive new rusher here in Laiatu Latu. Latu was freaky athletic and has traits that make him an absolute nightmare matchup off the edge. With Trayvon Walker needing a running mate, this pick adds some real juice to the Jacksonville defense. Alrighty, the Cincinnati Bengals are now on the clock with the 18th overall pick, and with their selection, they end up taking Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. Some more O-line help arrives for Joe Burrow and the Bengals as they take Guyton here, and with Jonah Williams' contract expiring, Guyton can either take over at left tackle or start on the right side if Williams is retained, so great upside pick here. Okay, the defending champs Los Angeles Rams are on the clock now with the 19th pick, and with their selection, the Rams take J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback from Michigan. The Rams plan for the future at the most important position by snagging McCarthy here as a potential successor to Matthew Stafford. Alright, moving down to the 20th overall pick now. The Steelers are on the clock, and with this, they go with Quentin Mitchell, the cornerback from Toledo. The Steelers secondary needs an influx of talent, and Mitchell is a perfect fit for him. He's got the size, strength, and fluidity to be able to thrive in man coverage that Pittsburgh likes to run. Okay, at number 21 now, we got the Miami Dolphins, and with their pick, they address the interior offensive line and take Jackson Powers Johnson, the center guard from Oregon. Versatile interior lineman Powers Johnson heads to South Beach here, with his experience at both guard and center being valuable, and he has the athleticism to fit perfectly in a Mike McDaniel's zone running scheme. Alright, moving on down to number 22, we got the Eagles up on deck, and they end up going with Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver from LSU. The Eagles take advantage of a deep receiver class and end up grabbing Brian Thomas Jr. here. Pairing his vertical threat ability with Devonta Smith's shiftiness is going to be a nightmare for NFC East secondaries. Fun weapon for Jalen Hurts. The Houston Texans are now on the clock with their 23rd overall pick, and with their selection, the Texans take Nate Wiggins, the cornerback from Clemson. The Texans secondary was consistently burnt last season, so targeting cornerback does make sense. All right, moving on down to 24th now, we got the Dallas Cowboys on the clock, and they end up going with Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle from Georgia. The Cowboys prepare for Tyron Smith's potential departure, grabbing his potential replacement in the massive Amarius Mims. With proper coaching, he can develop into an elite right tackle to pair with Tyler Smith on the left side. Okie dokie, now we got the Packers, and they are on the clock with the 25th overall pick, and the Cheeseheads are going to select Cooper DeJean, the defensive back from Iowa. The Packers had some versatility in the secondary with DeJean, a Swiss Army knife who lined up at corner and safety for Iowa. With his range and smarts, the new DC Jeff Hafley could even use him as a single high safety. This is the type of movable chess piece that every defense needs. All right, moving on down to the 26th pick now. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock, and with their pick, the Bucs select Keon Coleman, the wide receiver from Florida State. The Bucs find Mike Evans' heir apparent and give Tom Brady a new toy with the ultra-talented Coleman. The Bucs could use more wide receiver talent behind Chris Goodwin, and Coleman does fit the bill perfectly. Okay, now, the Arizona Cardinals are back on the clock with the 27th overall pick, and they end up taking none other than Braylon Trice, the defensive end from Washington. After going offense earlier with Drake May, the Cardinals turn their attention to the defensive side of the ball and end up needing to stock up on their front seven talent, and Trice, well, he's a perfect fit. All right, moving down to the 28th overall pick now, and the Buffalo Bills are on the clock, and with their pick, they go ahead and select Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon. The Bills need to find a reliable receiver opposite Stefon Diggs, and Franklin has the talent to fill that role. This 6'2 speedster can help form a lethal 1-2 punch at receiver with Diggs. Okay, moving down to the 29th pick now, and the Detroit Lions are on the clock with their selection taking Ennis Rakeshaw Jr., quarterback from Missouri. After focusing on offense last year, the Lions need to turn to the defensive side of the ball and have struggled at corner, so bringing in a competitive player like Rakeshaw to the battle for a starring role just makes sense. All right, now we've made it down to the 30th overall pick where the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock, and when they are going to select Jerzon Newton, the defensive tackle from Illinois. The Ravens find a perfect up front here in Newton, and after a breakout 2022 season, his draft stock is rising fast. All right, now we're down to the last two with the 31st pick coming to the San Francisco 49ers, and with their selection, they end up taking Graham Barton, the interior offensive lineman from Duke. The 49ers are looking to further bolster the trenches, and with Barton lined up a tackle from Duke, it's pretty much a short up win for their stacked defense, but there's a case to be made that he could be a better guard or center in the pros. Some versatility up front is needed with uncertainty surrounding the contracts of Mike McGlinchey and other interior linemen, but overall, a really solid pick here. Last and certainly not least, the Super Bowl champs Kansas City Chiefs are now on the clock with their 32nd pick, and their selection is going to go to Darius Robinson, the defensive lineman from Missouri. The Chiefs target the defensive front seven again, grabbing hometown Mizzou product Robinson. Frank Clark's contract is up soon, so grabbing a pass rushing terror like Robinson is wise. Well, that's all we have time for, so let me know which picks that you loved or hated in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more mock drafts and analysts all year long as we look ahead to the 2024 NFL Draft.